Hello, hello, you guys. It's been a while. I'm happy to be back, happy to see you all. Thank you all for tuning in. I have the amazing, beautiful, spiritual, and Yaya Nkisi joining us. You guys may have remembered her from when we did the Spiritualist panel and different things on my channel last year. So thank you all for joining. Now we're going to do a formal interview with her so you can learn what this sister does. She does so many amazing things. Can you tell the community what you do?
Hi everyone. Don't mind my two glasses because I can't see. um, I am located in Staten Island, New York. I am a full spectrum doula. I'm a birth doula. I'm a postpartum doula. I am working on taking the boards for the International Board of Certified Lactation Consultants. So currently, right now, I'm in my 90 hours. And I will be receiving my master's in herbal studies
Yeah.
sometime in August. And I'm also a Yaya Nkisi Malongo in the Afro-Cuban regla of Kimbisa. Plus a priestess, but I'm a priestess in training in another initiated, but I don't want to talk about that yet because I'm still in training.
You always have something going on, and I love
Always.
it. I love it. You looking for an authentic practitioner? This is her, honey. She's the real
Thank
deal.
you.
She is the real deal. No problem. I connected with Yaya Nkisi years ago. She helped me out of a situation and I
Mhm.
never forgot it because it helped change my life. I was going through something spiritual with someone and she gave me life-changing advice that I needed. And
Mhm.
it was so phenomenal. It was so helpful. And I'm very grateful to know her. We never even met in person, but we
I
connected
know.
so many times. And we both from New York, but we never met in person. So I'm
Mhm.
honored to have you on my platform and being able
Thank
to
you.
speak with you. Um, I'm glad you mentioned where you're located. I know
Mhm.
that you mentioned doula work. What is a doula for the people who don't know who or what that is?
Okay, so a doula is a trained professional who provides emotional, physical, and informational support to women and their families before, during, and after childbirth, right? So, our role is to provide continuous support and guidance. We advocate for the mother's wishes during labor, and we are here to help her feel empowered and informed throughout the entire birthing process.
Mm,
So we're not medical professionals, okay? And we do not provide medical care, but we work alongside healthcare providers to create a supportive and positive birthing experience. So our services can also extend beyond childbirth, where we offer postpartum doula support and support with breastfeeding and newborn care, and of course, the mother's emotional well being.
that's amazing. That's amazing.
Mhm.
What about womb work as well? Do you guys do anything specific for the womb to help the womb or
So, womb work is something that has become very popular throughout the years. And it's a womb worker is used to describe someone who specializes in holistic healing and support for women's health and wellness. Okay. So, during labor, there are certain techniques that we do use. Some of it, if the mother is having pain in the back. There's a specific technique that we use within the lower back to help, massage that area so that she has less pain.
mm,
There are things that, we could, because I'm a trained herbalist also, that I offer moms, such as a special type of tea that contains raspberry leaf to help strengthen and tone the uterus and prepare the mother for labor, so that her cervix will open up a lot quicker, rather than sitting in labor and delivery for 20 hours, especially a first time mom. But we also offer other techniques and modalities such as herbal medicine, energy healing, and of course, ancestral wisdom that, help women connect to their bodies and to heal any imbalances or traumas, because every last one of us carry some type of trauma within our womb. And for especially for women of color, Black women, Indigenous women, Hispanic women,
Hmm.
we carry a lot of generational trauma within our womb. We carry it from our grandmothers, great grandmothers, grandmothers, mothers, and we carry it. So, in order for us to be able to release those traumas so that, because our daughters have it too, be able to release those traumas, we need to be able to understand why we have them, and be open to working on them, and be open to working on what takes place during that process. Because when you're starting to do inner work and try and heal those generational traumas, it can bring up a lot of stuff. So when you're going through that, you need to make sure that you have someone who, although they call themselves a womb worker, is able to help you through the emotional challenges that you will be dealing with afterwards.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a lot. It really is a lot.
Yeah.
It's not something that, as a womb worker, that you would take lightly when you're dealing with someone who is coming to you, especially if they've had, they've been sexually assaulted, or if they've had a bad pregnancy, they've had, miscarriage after miscarriage, or they've had bad childbirth, or they're just dealing with terrible relationships.
Hmm.
It's a lot. It's a lot of emotional baggage that we women carry, and because we do carry this, the majority of us develop cysts. We develop fibroids. We have heavy bleeding. We develop cancers. So, the emotional baggage that we carry can also make us very sick.
I've always believed that there was a spiritual component to a lot of the womb issues that we have as women.
Hmm.
Like you said, the fibroids, the PCOS. Of course, there's
Yeah.
like the medical, physical component, but I've always believed that there was a spiritual aspect of it as well. And
There is.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've noticed a lot of women who have gone through a lot of abortions sometimes tend to have
Mm.
certain uh, womb issues like fibroids. Um,
Hmm.
when they've come to me, I'm not on your level now. I'm not no doula, but I've done a little bit of womb formulas and things like that to kind
Hmm.
of help. So I definitely feel you on that. That's heavy work.
It is. It is very heavy. It,
Yes. Would you recommend like a doula over a traditional childbirth in a hospital? Why or why not?
Absolutely not, because we're not midwives. We're not trained medical professionals. And on top of this, the situation that I have with one of my birth moms, she's high risk, and this is her fifth pregnancy, you know, and she's carrying pretty large.
Yeah.
She's also had some prior health issues, right? So, and this is coming in with my training, because of where I'm currently going to school to receive my master's. Okay,
Mhm.
so I'm training. They train us in pathophysiology, learning the um, pathology of how an illness begins. Right within the
Mm.
body, you have to learn anatomy and physiology. You have to learn medical terminology. Um, you have to know interactions with drugs, so forth and so on, right?
Right.
So this particular mom, when she went in, she had to, because she had a prior history of an aneurysm, and
Ooh.
they wanted to just make sure that there was nothing going on with her head, because she was complaining of dizziness, a headache, blah 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 blah. She's not preeclamptic. They ruled that out. So okay, let's go take a look and see what's going on in the brain right now,
Right.
right? So she had to have a scheduled MRI, and they offered her a drug called Versed. Okay, and so she texted me and she was like, "This is what they're saying." And I'm like, "Well, what drug are they offering you?" I said, "Because one of the only drugs that I know that doesn't cross the placenta is propofol." So she texted me back and she said, Versed. And I was like, Versed? I said,
Mm.
no, no, not at all. Because Versed is a class 4 drug, and it crosses the placenta. which can
Right.
cause potential. I don't care that an MRI is only going to be 30, 45 minutes. You're giving a pregnant mother who's soon to give birth in the next 7 weeks a drug that will cross the placenta, which will cause potential harm to the fetus. Okay,
Wow.
so this is one of the reasons why doulas, and it's a beautiful thing, and there are beautiful programs out there. I am not knocking anyone's program, but some of the doulas that I've come across, because like I said, I am a community-based doula. I subcontract for two agencies, and I also have my own private practice. Some of the doulas that I'm coming across, they're not well versed, and I'm not, trying to sound an elitist or anything, but
Right.
they're not well versed in medications and potential harm to a mother and her baby.
Right.
So this is why, um, we're there for support, emotional support, for to advocate on their behalf, because there have been too many Black and brown mothers and their babies dying in childbirth. And a lot
Right.
of that comes from racism and gaslighting in the medical industry.
Yes.
So, this is why there is an importance for, especially as Black and brown doulas and indigenous doulas, where we need to be well trained in all of these things so that we can better advocate for our moms and their families. Okay.
Mm.
So one birth that I had last weekend, and it was in Brooklyn Hospital, and I was just very grateful that the medical staff, when they were, trying, because it was an emergency C-section because it was fetal distress, but that the medical staff was in conference with me, and I was able to talk
Mm.
to the mom to calm her down as all of these things were happening. So that's what I'm saying. Like medical staff, and now that there's an influx of doulas, we're becoming more popular, even though we've been around for centuries. That when you have a great medical staff who will work with you, it will ease the anxiety of the mother and her partner. So that's why it's important for us to have a bit more training than what some of the certification schools currently do.
Mm.
Yeah,
Very, very, very wonderful and great information to know.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
love that you are in New York because I don't know a lot of doulas in New York.
Oh, there's
Um,
a lot of us. There's a
there
lot of
is.
us.
Okay, okay. A lot of the people that I know that's kind of into that work tend to be in the South or
Mm,
different places, so it's good. So definitely contact Yaya Nkisi. We're going to go into how you can contact her a little bit later in the interview.
okay.
But I wanted to ask, what got you into this work? Because we've heard of things like the famous tennis player Serena and her difficulty when she was giving birth and the doctors not listening to her, and different racial biases that we always have encountered in the medical
Yeah.
field. Like even me as a baby, the doctors tried to put me in an oxygen tank when I was a baby because my lips was black.
Oh my God.
I'm dark skinned.
Yeah,
So
well, that's racist.
my lips.
Mm,
And my mother, she even had to like get me out of there. Like as a mother, she wrapped me. My mother did not play. She was high yellow, but she
mm,
couldn't do that to my black baby.
hmm.
Shout out to my
So one of the reasons why I did get into doula work is because of the high incidence of um, in mother infant mortality rates with Black and brown women. That was one of the reasons, and another reason too is one of the chiefs. um, she's Oba Binreen for Lokun in the United States, and I had a reading with her,
Mhm.
and she was saying to me, your part of your path is working with women. These are some things that your ancestral mothers did, and I knew this also. A couple of my great grandmothers were midwives.
Ah,
My grandmother, my aunts, they're nurses. Some of my nieces are nurses. So the healing part has always been in the family. Okay, so it was an ancestral call, and also too, it was a community call
Right.
too. So that was, what stemmed my, so over the, you know, during the pandemic, well, before the pandemic, I was working on the birth certification part. And then over the pandemic is when I finished the postpartum certification. I'm currently in my CLC certification, and then I will be taking my IBCLC.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
And I'm also in prep training right now. So prep training is knowing how to deal with postpartum moms and their, emotional, sometimes mental issues while they're going through the postpartum period, and being able to
Ooh.
recognize that, so that you can, because that's also too, the fourth trimester is very important, because that's when your hormones drop, or if you're already dealing with some mental issues during your pregnancy, they may become more prevalent after you give birth. So we have to go through special trainings in order to be able to recognize this.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's so important because I don't. You always hear about mothers not really getting help when they have the postpartum.
Yeah.
That part,
I
it's like
was
a
one of those moms, so I know when my first pregnancy, I dealt a lot with depression before I gave birth, and then after I gave birth, my postpartum period was horrible.
mm,
And I was, nervous about when I had my second child, but I only had like what they call baby blues for a couple of days, and then I was fine. And it was the same thing when I had my third daughter. She, baby blues for a few days, but that first pregnancy, it was pretty bad.
oh wow.
Yeah, it was pretty
Um,
bad.
I know you mentioned that you're initiated into some spiritual. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't want to call it religion. Would you call it religion?
No, I would call it spirituality. I don't like to call. I
Okay.
know that we traditionally call it here African traditional religions, but I
Uh-huh.
don't like to say religion because it sounds so confining.
Yes.
So spirituality, Palo, as some people, some people, the way they practice Palo, they have given it a bad name.
Hmm.
When you say Palo, it's like, oh my God, but we're here to heal. That's what my hands are for. When I first started practicing as a priestess in Palo, yeah, I did some dirty things. I'm not gonna lie, and I was reprimanded. Okay, and
Which
I
will
was pretty
definitely
much
happen.
told, yeah, I was reprimanded, and basically told this is not what your hands are meant to do. Okay,
Mm.
Palo, we all, pretty much walk in the realm of Paulo every day, when we step outside, when we step on grass, when we step in dirt, when we see trees, when we're touching plants, when we go to the ocean, when we go to the river, the lake, nature. That is Paulo, right?
Mhm.
So yes, and I have grown a lot over the years, and I actually see that there is a lot of beauty in it. Some people come into these traditions because they're angry, they want revenge against somebody. Not everyone is meant to be a priest or a priestess, and
True.
some people see that, and it's like, okay, well, why is she a priest? Okay, well, maybe that's because that's my calling. That
Mhm.
might not be yours. You may need to come here and fill an ancestral obligation. You don't need to be a
Mhm.
priest or a priestess. So I think that's like why, you know, um, so many people come into the tradition, with one way of looking at things, and then seeing that it's not what it is, get upset, and then they jump to another house. They don't want to listen to what they're being told. Yeah,
Mm.
so it's just a lot. But I love what I do. I love what I do.
Do you incorporate your spiritual practice into your doula work as well?
So, somewhat. I don't want to scare my moms, because a
Okay.
lot of, as a community based doula, which is where I get a lot of my clientele, because the community needs it. I also doula to Orthodox Jewish women.
Ooh, okay.
Okay. And one of the reasons why is because there are purity laws. And I do believe that they've always had doulas, but now that they're able to get doulas through the program, because we're Medicaid approved, and we're private insurance approved, and here in New York, and I know in California too. I don't know about anywhere else.
Uh-huh.
Um, they have, you have more access to having a doula as a birth mom. So a lot of my clients are Orthodox Jewish, and because I'm somebody who's interested in other things, that people are doing, I, was able to read up on the NITA. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. NITA or NETA laws, which are the purity laws, towards cleanliness and so forth and so on, and blood and stuff like that. So the husband technically cannot be in the room
Mm.
when there's like that whole fluid exchange. When the
Mhm.
woman is bleeding, so forth and so on. So that's where we're needed. Okay, so even though I don't, I may have some of my stuff on, like right now I don't have anything on.
Mhm.
I may have some of my stuff on. They don't ask, you know. So I don't incorporate those types of things into my doula practice, but I am
Uh-huh.
also a Reiki practitioner, and I've
Mhm.
been one for 15 years. So I do energy work. I'm an aromatherapist also. So I, offer aromatherapy. So, I mean, that's holistic in a sense, but not necessarily something that's overly spiritual.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And
Well.
also too, is my one of my god sisters was saying to me, she's like, you have Afro Shay. So, um, I use that, if anything, to soothe and calm a mother when she's, going through that second and third stage of labor, and she has not taken an epidural and she's in pain, to calm her down.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. I know you mentioned earlier that you study herbalism. Are there
Hmm.
any specific herbs that you would just recommend everyone use that's easily accessible around them, especially women, just for overall womb health, vaginal health, things like that?
Okay. So one of my go-to herbs, besides peppermint leaf for digestion, is dandelion root, right?
Ah,
So some people are, who understand botany will, be able to grow their own dandelions and so forth. I recommend dandelion root as long as you're not allergic to anything that is within that family, like daisies and so forth,
mhm,
um, because it helps to improve kidney function. It is a liver detoxifier. It aids digestion. It's an anti-inflammatory. It's an antioxidant. Um, it's good if you have arthritis.
mm,
I have spondylosis, so for me, which is arthritis in the spine. So for me, it does help. When I'm experiencing pain for the most part, because it's an anti-inflammatory.
mm,
And it's also good if someone has hypertension. Okay,
mm.
so that's something that I would recommend. I do, however, Vitex berry for women.
Ah, yes.
Okay, but if you are someone who has hormone related type illnesses, then do not use Vitex berry.
Okay.
Okay, but it is good. Rhodiola is also good.
Hmm.
Um,
I know you
yarrow,
mentioned red raspberry earlier. Red raspberry.
yes, raspberry leaf. Yarrow, rosemary, rosemary tea. It's very
Yeah.
good, especially at nighttime, and it also helps improve dreams. Um, what else? So
Rosemary's here too.
yeah, yeah. And peppermint leaf is like one of my go-tos because, I'm perimenopausal now. So, as I'm going through the hormone fluctuations, low estrogen, and sometimes the estrogen is normal, and get my period, whatever. Um uh I have digestive issues,
Ah,
because there's so many different things. There's like 50 something symptoms that come with just perimenopause,
wow.
that is scary to a lot of women. That my mother's a boomer mom, so she, with her, it was just hot flashes, and like when I tell her what's going on, she's like, oh, you need to go to the doctor. And I'm like, but I just had a physical. Okay. So there's all of those different things. So I try to, use different herbs to, and especially because my stomach really, I really have stomach issues now because of the fluctuation with the hormones. One thing I do want to add, because
Uh-huh.
I know that we see on social media people who call themselves herbalists, so forth and so on. Okay. If yes, raspberry rosemary tea for sleep.
Yes.
Rosemary tea, right?
Thank you for the
I
question.
do want to recommend that anyone who is interested in alternative or holistic medicine, that you please seek out an herbalist who is not only traditionally trained, but who has been clinically trained and who can and knowledgeable in certain terminologies, knowledgeable in pathophysiology, knowledgeable in physiology, you know, and who have studied herbs extensively and have had to pass certain criteria in order to practice. And one of the
Hmm.
reasons why I say this is because a lot of us do not go to the doctor. And so we do not know, we haven't had blood work. We do not know what is going on in our bodies. And you can, all of that sounds good. Okay. Whatever
Uh-huh.
herb, they're talking about. Yes, I think I need that because I'm feeling this. And it just may be something as simple as you going to a doctor and having a blood test because there may be something else that is going on with you. So before you seek out anyone, make sure that you vet them,
Hmm.
okay? And you make sure that you go for your physical workup so that you can make sure that you're healthy enough, okay? Because if you're taking supplements, there are herbs, roots, flowers, whatever it is, that will interfere with those supplements and
Yeah.
cause you to have some serious health issues. And that is
Very
the same thing with medications. Okay. So, anybody can purchase a book, and, read some stuff and call themselves an herbalist, and it's not necessarily the case. So please be careful.
I used to have an herbalist friend who's been practicing for years.
Hmm.
They started having some physical ailments, or not ailments, but some physical issues. And
Hmm.
I would say to them, I know you don't go to the doctor. I'm not the biggest fan of the doctor all the time, but
Me
get your
neither.
blood work done at least to know where you are. Because you
Hmm.
know so much about the herbs, so much about the healing. You know what you need to heal. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
say, for example, if you get your blood work done and you're anemic or you have anemia, you know
Hmm.
that there's certain herbs, if you're an herbalist, or there's certain herbs, if you're not an herbalist, that you can look into. And like
Right.
you said, everything, just like people don't always mix, herbs don't always mix, supplements
Nope.
don't always mix. Different things, it's more complex. I knew one person, I'm not, of course I'm not gonna say the name, but they were putting so many different herbs together and trying to package and sell it to people.
I know you're talking about.
Oh, you know the person?
I know you're talking about. Yes, I did see it. I didn't say anything,
But I had
because
told
everyone gets, oh, spirit told me to do this, and it's like
them,
I don't think
right,
spirit told you did. You wasn't hearing it correctly. But if anyone who is listen, if anyone who's on listening right now, and you've gone to the doctor, you've had blood work, and they said that you are anemic,
right.
um, and you don't have any other health issues, you're not, taking any kind of medications, and you're not allergic to anything in the yellow dock family, yellow dock
And
is
it's
good
very
for
bitter.
people.
Yellow dock is bitter, but it's
Is
good.
yeah.
It's good for you. What we used to do when I went to Dr. Sabi's village is when you have the bitter herbs, you chase it down with like we chased it down with lime because it
Mm-hmm.
was so bitter, but that'll help take the taste out,
Absolutely. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
bitterness. But it was funny
Yeah.
because that one person in particular, I had to tell him like you can't sell that to anybody, and you have to look up how these herbs work with one another. Because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you can't just put it to, oh yeah, this is good for this, this is good for this, this is good for this, and I'm gonna make this big old concoction. And I'm like, no, you gonna get sued like that. You're gonna hurt
Yes.
somebody like that.
You have to know the herbal actions of the drug. Some
Right.
drugs, are cathartics. Some drugs are what we call emanagogues. Some drugs are tonic. Some herbal
Mm,
actions do not mix. If there's, for instance, if you're having issues with constipation, and you go to someone and they give you senna, and then on top of that they're giving you another diuretic, you're going to be on a toilet for about a week, and you're going to be dehydrated, which
yes.
can then for cause hypokalemia. Okay. And which hypokalemia is a depletion of your magnesium and your potassium,
Mm.
which can cause you to have a heart arrhythmia. So yeah, so
You
that's
start
why
with a
it's
smaller
very
problem and then with a bigger problem.
exactly. So that's why it's really important for you to make sure that you're going to someone who knows what they're doing.
I remember when I had hyperthyroidism and
Mm.
people were telling me to take sea moss and bladderwrack.
Mm-mm.
And I had to learn through my body, I cannot take the bladderwrack because I'm hyper, not hypo. So I
Yes.
have to take the sea moss by itself because the bladderwrack speeds up the metabolism. And I was
Mm-hmm.
wondering why I'm having heart palpitations still
Heart
when I'm taking it.
palpitations, right?
Right. And I had to be like, wait a minute, I can't take this combination. And everyone was, because everyone was, and much respect and love to Dr. Sabi, but because
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Sabi's information became a fad and not people looking much deeper into just what he said and
Right.
actually doing a lot of the research, you have people that are just regurgitating things that he said on platforms without doing that extensive research on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So they're giving people suggestions to take things, but they're not like, wait a minute, let me see what your medical history is to see if that will work with you well or not.
Yeah.
And it gets tricky, you know what I mean? And I really, really wish Dr. Sebi would have wrote books. That's one thing I gotta credit Dr. Africa for, because
Yeah.
Dr. Africa has so many books. He spoke about things, but he wrote so many books to give resources, and it's like you can pass certain things by word of mouth, but with this day and age, with the way
Mm-hmm.
things have gone, it helps to put it in a book, put it in writing, so that people can follow it properly. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Um,
That's why I like ancient healing tea, because if you go on my website,
mhm.
I actually have some of her teas on there, especially for womb health.
Ooh,
um it's a lot of the stuff that she learned from her mother, who's also an herbalist. So these are, things that are passed down, and I know that she's had very good results with the teas and everything that she does sell. And actually, one of my clients, because I needed something like right away, and so I didn't have time to wait for certain herbs to come. So I got what did I think the fibroid tea from Ancient Healing Tea for one of my clients, and
mm,
who was having some trouble conceiving, and she conceived. She, after 3 months, she was doing in vitro, but
uh-huh,
after that 3 months, she was able to conceive. So I can say that her stuff does work.
uh-huh.
So I continue to have her products on my website. She's also on Instagram. So of course, I'm going to promote my sisters, because there's something for all of us. So it's not about trying to corner the market or anything. I have my own special blends that I make, and she makes her special blends, and I sell them. So
Yes, yes,
I just
yes.
wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you, thank you. I remember putting a concoction together for a friend of mine, and it helped her conceive. That was years ago. I don't even remember what I put together.
Hmm.
So I gotta go back into my studies because I was studying independently, but I would love to do something
Right,
with
because you
herbalism like
gave
you're
me
doing.
something. I don't remember what it was. I think it was for anemia. I think it was when I was, dealing with because I even though I'm an herbalist, and I do, my best to I make a blood building syrup.
Uh-huh.
And I also make it for postpartum moms. That's really who I made it for, but I take it myself because I'm anemic.
Uh-huh.
I do feel better with it, but I still battle with anemia, because there I've actually had to have blood transfusions. That's how low my hemoglobin and hematocrit was. And this was going back a few years ago. Yeah.
Right.
I remember passing out in front of my oldest daughter.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was that anemic.
So this is
um
the iron formula I gave you, the elixir.
yes, you gave me the elixir.
How did it work for
So
you?
it helped.
Okay.
It did help, especially too because I get heavy menstrual periods. Even, now I still, and I'm gonna be 54. you know
Yeah, yeah.
I still get heavy menstrual periods because I am going through perimenopause now. So, it's like the way the hormones are. But yeah,
I have
it
to
did
start
help me.
making it again because
Yes, you
everyone
do.
who I gave it to, one of my friends took it during her pregnancy because she always had anemia. So I made it gentle enough,
Hmm.
and I had a 2-year-old client who I used to make it for as well. So I made it
Right.
gentle enough because I made sure I researched every single thing I put in that concoction and how they coincide. Like I really was like, I gotta make this, and everyone said it worked. After like a couple of days, they started
Hmm.
feeling the difference. So thank you for that. I'm honored. I gotta get back on my stuff.
Yes, you do, because you ain't been on it for a while.
I haven't. I've been moving and traveling and all over the
I
world.
know, I know, I know, I
But
know.
I wanted to touch on the question in the chat, and then I'm going to continue on with the questions that we have.
Okay.
Because I know we do have a little bit of limited time. But
Yeah.
if you want to further pick Lelia's brain after this, feel free to reach out to her to Yaya Nkisi. Sorry about that. And also your website. It's www.sacralhealinggarden.com.
No, so it's www.thesacralhealinggarden.com.
The Sacral
Healinggarden.com.
healinggarden.com. Let me put that in the chat so everyone has that for you.
Mm-hmm.
And someone wanted to ask specifically about sea moss, and she said it isn't good for anyone, for everybody. So, do
It's
you have any
especially
thoughts?
not really that good for women. You can see, I have an enlarged, well, I have actually one enlarged, I have goiter here, and over here, my goiter is enlarged, right?
Ah,
So I have been going to doctors for years, right?
mm-hmm,
And I've always had this right here
mm-hmm.
until I got to I had, transferred to a new doctor, because one of the doctors I had, I think she was a little bit overzealous, and she put me on medication that I did not belong on. Okay, I didn't take it, but I'm like, I'm not. I don't know why she did this. If I had anxiety, and she gave some type of medication to slow down my heart rate, and I'm telling you, I have anxiety.
Right,
Okay, because I don't like going to the dentist, to the doctor.
right, right.
So anyway, so I transferred to another doctor, and when I went for my physical, he touched my neck and he said swallow, and I swallowed, and he was like, I want you to go for a sonogram. And I was
Mm,
like, okay. Went for a sonogram. I saw the results in my chart, didn't think anything of it. And he called me, he referred me, when he got the results, he referred me to an endocrinologist. He said, because you need to have a fine needle aspiration because
ooh,
there's goiters here.
wow.
Um, so I went for the fine needle aspiration, which is, a biopsy, and you're awake and all they do is spray your throat.
Uh-huh.
Um, And thankfully, even though they're enlarged, but since I had one of my elevations, my spiritual elevations, I've noticed that they started to go down, but they're still there. Okay.
Yeah.
And it came back, everything was benign and everything, but it was a really scary time. And
Mhm.
what I have found, and even my god sister, who also has an enlarged goiter, is that sea moss is not. It'll really mess you up. It
Wow.
really will. So if you are thinking as a woman, especially as a woman, of taking sea moss, please go and have your TS3 and TS4 blood work to make sure that your thyroid is healthy enough for you to take it. Because there are a lot of us as Black women who are walking around with enlarged goiters. All right. And the
Mm,
last thing you want is for that, because there's nodules on there. I have nodules. I have one big nodule over here, and I have another one over here. And some
mhm,
of those nodules can turn cancerous. So you don't want to speed up something or cause something to happen to you that doesn't need to happen.
wow.
Okay?
Wow. I also just wanted to throw in the chat this when I don't have hyperthyroidism. They always check me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have it anymore. I used to have it for years.
Right.
And I changed a lot of things, but one herb that I would suggest looking into if you have any kind of thyroid issue. And it's usually helpful for autoimmune, is a fern called kalawala. When I
I've
would
heard
have
of
a lot of
Kalawala.
palpitations, that's
Mm-hmm.
what would help me slow me down.
Okay.
If I drunk kalawala. So that's something to look into just for the
Mm-hmm.
chat, to help with those things. For me, and everything, different things work for different people. For
Okay. Mm-hmm.
for me, um, I had to do some dietary changes. I had to take certain herbs. I definitely couldn't do that bladder rack like everybody was telling me to
Yeah,
do,
no, no, no. It,
because
there's
it,
too
it
much
was not
iodine.
helpful. Huh?
It has too much iodine.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then with the herbs, there was something else. Also, people gotta also know that a lot of people are selling sea moss because it's a fad, but sea moss is a sea vegetable that has many different variations of it.
Right.
Everybody is not selling the best quality sea moss.
Mm-hmm.
It has a
Yeah.
lot of trace minerals in it, but it's not as mineral rich as people sometimes make it seem. You have the
Mm-hmm.
Congress Crispus. There's so many different variations. So, like,
Right.
for me, I go to a specific person for my CMOS. If CMOS is something that works for you guys, I can refer you guys to the specific person I go to get the specific one I get. But
Mm-hmm.
I definitely understand, because everything. Sometimes people say, um, use a specific thing, but like you said, you might have other things in your body that don't work well with it, or you might be consuming something that doesn't work
Right.
well with it. So you have to, just because it works for someone doesn't mean it'll work for someone else, depending
Mm-hmm.
on the condition.
Absolutely.
So many things. Um, oh, someone said only hypothyroid really need that, and she's also said thank you for the information. I wanted to ask you also, um, let's see. I wanted to
Mhm.
also ask you, do you make products? You mentioned some teas that you sell. Do you make products and or tinctures of your own? And
I
also,
do.
oh, you do? Oh, let's talk about
I
it.
do. So a lot of the things that I make, I don't know if there's any men on here. I'm sorry, I don't really make things for the men. I do make a lot of I encapsulate powders. So, I have like the herbs, the dried herbs. I think one of the ones that I have right now has to do with the endocrine system, because there are so many of us as women who are walking around with an unhealthy endocrine system. Okay.
Mm,
And you need to have your endocrine system should be, you know, what we call homeostasis, which means that it should be in balance, because and the endocrine has to do with the immune system. If your immune system is out of balance, right? So people usually think immune system, oh, okay, I'm going to get a cold, flu, whatever the case can be. It's not true. It is a lot deeper than that. You can have certain cancers or develop certain cancers, if your immune system is out of whack. It also, interrupts circulation, so you can start having circulatory issues. So the way the body works and everything, everything should pretty much be in homeostasis. Now, for the most part, are all of us in that? No, because we live here in America, and the FDA allows certain chemicals inside of our foods, so we don't really know what how much harm it's causing. So that's why it is important to make sure that you follow up with your doctor. And I keep reiterating that, and making sure that you get proper blood work, so that, they can pretty much take a look, CBC with differential, TS3, TS4, a metabolic profile. Even as far as there's another blood test, and I forgot, I think it's to check the homocysteine, because I'm currently working with an herbalist, where and he's a clinically trained herbalist as well, working with him on extracellular um, uh, activities, um, to improve the function of the body. So
mm,
yeah, so he's putting together a team. Here he's like, handpicking certain, herbalists to work with him on this particular project, which is very important for us. to really, start to combat some cancers, as well as improving heart and lung health as well.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. And I was shocked that, that he even picked me. We met on Patrick Delvis, who is another very well known herbalist. He's from the islands.
Ah,
And yeah, he's on par like with, what Dr. Sebi was doing and everything. But I think I'm not going to say he's on par. I think he's surpassed it, and he's doing some really amazing things, especially for Black women with breast cancer and other cancers that affect our reproductive system, heart health and all of that. So I met this person. His name is Nigel through. Or this herbalist, he's another master herbalist through Patrick Delvis. So, um, but Patrick is, definitely, he's definitely doing some wonderful things. I just want to shout him out too. I don't really know him personally, but I do follow him, and he's doing
okay.
some wonderful things as well for the community.
Do you also do readings by any chance? And if you do, what type do you do?
So I do readings.
Okay.
I have created my own deck. It's called
Ooh,
Real Life Oracle. It is a 68 card deck. I created it. It was spirit led. You know,
wow.
my god sister and I were talking about it last night, and she says she likes to use it with her talk deck. She says, she goes, this deck talks so much that it's scary to pick up. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I'm like, I really don't want to use my own damn deck, because this is just,
I
it it,
gotta buy
it,
your deck. I gotta
it
buy it.
tells it tells too much. I'm actually going to do a reprint. This is going to be the I think the 5 year anniversary. I think I created it back in 2018. So what was it, 6 year anniversary? I don't even know. But yeah, so it is on my website. You can pre-order it, but I would ask you not to right now until I'm actually selling. I have all the decks created, because it takes about maybe 6 weeks for me to get everything in order.
Mhm.
So please don't purchase yet. But if anyone has any questions about it, I can pretty much, if you email or anything, I could show you what some of the cards look like, because they're really deep. It deals with everything from sexual assault,
Mm.
child abuse. I'm covering all bases. Of course, there's some really good things in there, for abundance, prosperity, fertility, all of those things, marriage, love, all that stuff. But then it also touches on some real nitty gritty stuff,
Uh-huh.
because, you know, we need to see that we can't be sugarcoating stuff no more. It deals with discrimination. There's just like so many different things. There's the spirit card, there's the conflict card, there's um the addiction card. There's a lot, and the visualization of the deck is just, the artist, she did a very good job. And I remember when I was marketing the deck to a couple of the companies that that do like all the printing and everything,
Uh-huh.
and they wanted to work with it, but they were like, can you just change the artistry? And I said, no, because we're not going to have all flowery, angels and beautiful
Right.
things, because we're living in a time right now where we need to see some real stuff, and that's why it's called Real Life Oracle. So we got no time for that.
Make sure y'all get her oracle deck. I know I'm gonna buy it.
So I do readings. I do
Uh-huh.
use cards. Being a Yaya Nkisi, I also read Chamalango, and I read
Mm.
bones.
I've been wanting a bone reading for the longest, so I definitely have to hit you up for that bone reading.
Okay.
I always
Okay.
wanted to try a bone reading. I was gonna try it in New Orleans one time, but the energy from the person, I was not feeling their energy. I was like, mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm not,
I hear
because
you.
it's something very weird sometimes. Once in a while, it comes and goes, but I could hear people's thoughts.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
he said
Yeah.
something, but he said something different in his mind, and I heard it. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Excuse me," and then
Mm-hmm.
she repeated what he said out of his mouth, but I heard what he said in his mind, and I said, "Oh no, no, no,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no."
I hear you. I hear you.
um, and last but not least, I just wanted to ask you, um, first off, do you have a Facebook page that everyone can reach you or follow you on? And do you offer any kind of classes or trainings for practitioners? I think you touched on it a little bit, but can you just let everyone know again if you do that so they can contact you if they're interested in doing this kind of work as well?
Right. So my Facebook page got hacked. So um I mean you can find me on my personal page.
Okay.
Right? So I would actually have everyone if you want to follow me Instagram.
Okay.
It's and I think I am the still the Seiko Healing Garden. Yeah, I am the Seiko Healing Garden on Instagram, where it says this is my only page, because that is my only page. I remember somebody tried to hack me on there too. So and it has like most of my womb stuff on there. You know, you'll see a couple of pictures of my children, whatever. So yes, the Sacred Healing Garden on Instagram. I am also on TikTok.
Ah, is
Okay,
it under the same name?
under the same name, the Sacred Healing Garden.
Okay.
And I do offer classes. I have an upcoming class, creating ritual conjure oils. That's one of the classes that I will be offering soon, probably within the next 2 weeks. Now, actually, I probably will post it sometime next week. Okay,
Hmm.
so what we'll do is we'll do the class in the beginning of May, probably either that first Saturday or maybe that first Sunday in May. And see, my ritual oil class is my oils are very popular. Okay. One of the my most popular oils, well, actually a few of them, is uh, can I say it on here? The
Absolutely.
Coochie Power. The
What's it
Coochie
called?
Power.
Pussy Power?
It's called Pussy Power. Okay,
I
that is
love it.
one of my most popular oils. Besides,
I gotta get
um,
some oil from you too.
my hot foot. But actually, it's called Bitch Be Gone. And then and then there's a Blessed and Highly Favored. Okay,
Oh,
which a lot of people like as well. And then my money oil. My money oil is actually very popular. And I don't just be throwing a whole bunch of stuff in there, just to be like, okay, well, for money oil, I'm gonna throw some basil in there and so forth and so on. Or, maybe I'll throw a couple of little shredded dollars. No. I use dirt, I use resins, I use crystals, I use
oh,
herbs, I use roots and flowers, and then people who take my class will learn my secret ingredients. Okay?
oh.
Yes, and when
That's kind of
to
how I first met you, because we used
yeah.
to be on a Facebook group, and I remember you had advertised an oil that you made,
Hmm.
and I had inboxed you from there.
Yes, I remember that. So, I have secret ingredients. I also am thinking of creating a book with the
Ooh.
recipes in it, but I'm gonna divine on it first, because some of the recipes that I got, they're family recipes.
Ah,
I'm not one of those of course I started off, in hoodoo.
right.
Um, and I'm not going to sit up here and lie and say, "Oh, I learned hoodoo from my grandmother." And I didn't. Okay, spirituality has always been in my family. I did know that they went after church. They were going in the basement and do a little something,
Mm.
whatever they were doing. But I was not privy to that information, and actually until after my father died. And my
Mm.
father actually died in 2019 is when I had received books that my great great grandmother had. And in some of the books, because
Wow.
she was a birth worker, she also had what we call a book of names. Okay, so it had all of the names, the majority of the names of people who were born, when they got married, so forth and so on. Not only did she have like things that she used holistically for healing, there were also other things inside of those books as well. And so when my father had died and I went to my aunt's house, who was his younger sister, she said, this is for you. She said, we figured that you would be the person in the family who would appreciate what's inside of these books. And when
Wow.
I opened up the first page, I mean, it's so old and rickety, but when I opened up the first page, the first thing I found was a four-leaf clover in between the pages. And it's
Wow.
like, yeah, so I was like, okay, grandma, I hear you. So I closed it and, it's still there. But yeah, so I had some of that stuff there. But, many of the things that, we do or that our grandmothers or aunts or mothers have done, like the passing down of a skillet, you know, um, is a cast iron skillet is actually a hoodoo tradition. So, but I'm not gonna sit here and tell people, oh, I learned all of this stuff, for years, so forth and so on, because I had no idea it was really in my family until after my father passed away.
Wow.
Yeah. But yes, I do teach. That's one of my classes. I also do teach a course on how to read oracle cards for those people who are interested in learning how to read oracle cards. And I do use Lenormand. And if you do take that class, because it is a 7 series class, um, you do take that class, you do get a free deck of my real life oracle. Um, basically, it's the cost of the class too. The class is $300, but it's 7 series, and it's 45 minutes each session. And I have shop pay, so you can pay in installments. I have Sezzle, so there's different forms of payments on my shop.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and
Well,
that's
thank
pretty
you.
much it. You're welcome.
You are amazing. We thank you for
Thank
your
you. So are
time.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. We thank you for your energy and for all you do to help serve our community and just helping to help the ancestors and stay alive in the present.
Yes,
You know what
yes.
I mean? We have to keep them alive. It's kind of like to me the movie Coco. That
Mm-hmm.
movie makes me cry every time I see that movie. And I
Yes.
only watched it because my youngest nephew wanted me my mother to watch it. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, this is a deep movie. But I
It
love how
is.
you feature the kids, to keep the ancestors' memory alive because it's so taboo in a lot of our communities. They make it seem like it's something evil and
It's
they're
not.
dismissive of their ancestors. And it's like you would not be here if had it not been for your ancestors. You would not be
Mm-hmm.
here. You wouldn't exist, you
It's
know?
not.
So
It's beautiful. Yeah, I do ancestral work. That's, one of the other traditions. I was sitting here in the dark. One of the other traditions that, you know, um, I am currently in, and I do ancestral work, and I am an ancestor person. I hate to, I don't want to say priestess right now, but I'm an ancestor person in training.
mhm.
So yeah, it is beautiful. It's really beautiful. I recently had something made for me by one of the chiefs,
Mhm.
and it's actually something that I need. It's a family thing, and the energy in my house, let me tell you something, it is amazing. It is amazing. And I noticed too that since I received it, I was because I do have spondylosis,
Uh-huh.
and I do, I was having a lot of back pain, right, because it's arthritis of the spine. So
Right.
what happens is that the spine, sometimes it can compress on nerves. So I was having a
Mhm.
lot of pain that way. And I noticed that since, it's here, I don't really have that much pain anymore. Even though I am still going to go for my MRI, I don't
Yeah.
really have that much pain anymore.
Right.
So, sometimes when we're having certain troubles, money troubles, we're dealing with sickness, so forth and so on, sometimes it may be for us an ancestral issue. So if anyone is dealing with that, because I'm in training, I can't help you with that, but I can refer you to someone who can.
Right.
So yeah, because we have to strengthen our community, and we really just need to be there for each other and love on each other and love on ourselves. It's very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for all the wisdom and the information.
You're
I wish you the best
welcome.
with getting your master's. It's right around the
Oh
corner.
yeah. Oh my
You
God, I
got
cannot
this.
wait. Sick of school.
Listen, you are Virgo energy. I know you are thorough because
Yeah,
Virgos,
yeah.
they got their I's and they cross their T's. I love that about Virgos. So I know
Yeah,
it's
we
going to be a
do.
good through. I love that you're studying the different aspects of it, not just the herbal side, but also the medical part and component
Yes.
on it, because I think that that's very important to do as well. But
Mm-hmm.
we thank you. We thank you all, everyone in the audience that joined us. You can
Thank
watch
you.
you again on YouTube or on Facebook, on my Facebook page and channel. Yes, thank you again. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Feel free to reach out to Yaya Nkisi. Also, that is her website, thesacralhealinggarden.com. Check out all she has to offer. There's a lot of great things she has to offer on that website.
Thank
All right.
you.
No
Thank you.
problem.
All
No problem.
righty. Stay blessed. And thank you for this.
Yes, no problem. Peace,
Okay.
you guys.
Peace. Bye bye.
Bye.